Hello everyone, this is part 59 of What If Naruto Learned the Secret of Shadow Clone, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Breath in and feel the life that vitalizes you. Feel the energy pull at your navel and build. Hold, focus. Don't let the feeling go. Wait, and then exhale. Feel that same energy flow through your body, from your chest and heart, to your limbs, your head, back to your navel. Again, breath in and. Auntie Tayuya, is this really necessary? Sauta didn't want to sound ungrateful, but this was boring. He wanted to blow things up. Bend the elements to his will like Lord Naruto. Shoot out crazy chains like Aunties Honoka and Karen. The bop to the head from the starting to show her pregnancy Tayuya made him wince. UW. Stuff it. You want to learn, don't you? Flashy techniques and elemental manipulation is all well and good, but you must first master the basics. You made a promise, didn't you? Tayuya turned firm eyes onto the boy sitting before her. They were situated outside and away from the compound, on a small hill next to the lake, while not far from them more of the Uzumaki women sat about and enjoyed the warm weather. It was much too beautiful out to stay inside. Rubbing his head and leaning back on his hands, Sauta grumbled, but is all of this really necessary for that? Tayuya softened her look a bit, leaning forward to poke the boy in the chest. Tell me, can you even feel your chakra? Flushing a bit and shaking his head, Sauta did in fact pout this time. Well, not exactly. So how do you suppose you'll pull off those flashy techniques if you can't even get a handle of your chakra? Tayuya grinned and sat back as the gears started to move in Sauta's head. He was getting better, but that spoiled nature still came out from time to time. You must first learn to harness your chakra. Then you must build upon it and learn to direct it as you wish. Once you can do that, then we can get to the good stuff. Resetting himself and crossing his legs under him, Sauta took up a meditative posture, though his eyes were still on the long-haired teacher. Auntie Naruto says I should just learn seals and let them deal with the chakra usage. Tayuya decided she'd need to have Naruto beat some sense into his twin. In the meantime though, she decided to switch gears, unfolding her legs and relaxing into the grass so she could motion for Sauta to do the same. Tell me, Sauta, what do you think chakra is? Isn't it the combination of our mental and physical energy? That's why it's important to be both strong of body and of mind, right? Giggling as Tayuya ruffled his hair, Sauta's curiosity grew as Tayuya looked out over the calm lake. Well, that is the textbook answer. But there's more to it. Tayuya rubbed a hand through the grass, motes of light following her fingers as Sauta gasped next to her. Chakra is life. Life force, I guess, to be more specific. And it's all around us, every blade of grass. The water in our lakes, rivers, and oceans. Even in the air you breathe, there is chakra. Our abilities that we use, most are us exerting our will upon the world, making the impossible, possible. Sauta's eyes were wide as he watched Tayuya wave a hand in the air, fire trailing her fingers with a thought before it vanished just as quickly. So we train to better harness that energy. But then what's so wrong about the way Auntie Naruto says to do it? Snorting, Tayuya relaxed a bit more. Well, if you're willing to use the life energy of the world around you, but give none of your own, should you expect it to respond to you? More confusion on the boy's face, and Tayuya set about explaining it just as Naruto had late one night. It's a covenant, a binding if you will, between us and the world. We grow strong from the fruits of the land, and use our chakra in conjunction with it. One day, we fall, returning our borrowed life and power back to the world, a full cycle from start to finish. Us Uzumaki hold life sacred for various reasons, but one to remember is that we are not outside of the circle of life. Seals are useful tools, but they are not a means to remove ourselves from the natural order. I don't get it, Auntie Tayuya. Chuckling, Tayuya nodded and stood. I figured. How about a small demonstration then? Centering herself as Naruto had told her to, she felt out for the natural world around her. It was harder than achieving this with the seal for sure. But, the benefits of properly giving herself to the world. Sauta's eyes went wide as he watched the change come over Tayuya. Small horns of gold sprouted and wrapped around her head from her scalp to her temples. She grew a few inches and her skin took on a more golden hue as well. And when she opened her eyes to smirk at him, black and gold started back at him. Wah. Tayuya huffed and lost the transformation, but still, it was a start. Do it the hard way, the long and methodical way, and the very world can come to your aid. You want to bend the elements to your will, reshape reality to fit your vision. Well, you gotta start right here. Tayuya again pointed towards him, rejoining him on the grass, the basics. I think I get it, auntie. Good, now then. Tayuya assumed her meditative pose, matched more slowly by a resolute Sauta, breath in and far below them towards the water's edge. Kotohime turned a curious eye towards the training pair not far from them. She, Kikyo, Yuka, and Honoka were all relaxing by the water while a pair of the other girls played in the shallows. Even from here Kotohime could see few fish swimming within its waters, though they kept the distance from the humans. Yuka finished serving Kikyo tea, settling back and placing the teapot on a tray. Maybe Sayuri was right. I should perhaps find something to do now that we've got all this time. Kikyo hummed as she inhaled the aroma from her tea. Still a bit hot, you could be like Yukina. Hasn't she started moving around with the Chinook and the Zozen show lately? Yukina had always had an interest in technology. With their new freedom, she'd certainly have all the time in the world to explore her passion. Though Kikyo wished the younger woman would relax a bit on her workouts. Muscles here appealing, yes, but women should be more dainty in her opinion. Honoka turned to watch the elder Uzumaki carefully. She has. According to Ino, she wanted to learn a few different disciplines before coming back here and opening an armory. Something about Uzumaki bloodline weapons. Oh, that sounds interesting. While Kotohime still preferred her koto, she could still admire a well-made weapon or two. To what end? Shrugging, Honoka took a sip of her own tea. While Naruto has his sword, the rest of us use a smattering of weapons. She intends to create specialized weapons for all of us that with luck and her skill, be on par with Kiri's legendary swords. She has her work cut out for her then. Honoka didn't mind. She was much like Karen. A rearguard type, a supporter. She'd rather help others, erect barriers, not fight. Kotohime caught Kikyo watching the hill again and placed a gentle hand on the other woman's thigh. Is everything all right, elder? Something was certainly on the older Uzumaki's mind lately. Sighing at being caught, Kikyo shook her head slowly as she turned back to watch the girls in the lake. I worry is all. Sautahi did not have any time with his mother. I know we've spoiled him, but this life he seeks to make. It's so dangerous. Kotohime nods, beginning to understand. You've watched over him, and all the others, for so long. It's hard to let go, isn't it? Rightly so. I know I'm being a bit of a mother hen, but I wish he'd not push himself so much. Accidents happened all the time and involving ninja training and seals. She didn't want to imagine what could happen to their boy. Honoka chimes in with her own thoughts, seeing as Kotohime seemed at a loss for the moment. Well, we have to give him space to grow on his own, don't we? Otherwise he won't know anything other than doing what he's told and following directions from others. Not a very manly path. She giggled as Kotohime gave her a stern look. Sister's proclivities aside, she has a point. This is something Sauta wants to do, and earnestly means it. We should encourage it. Kotohime rubbed her own swollen belly, her child giving her a gentle nudge in return, and then a harder one straight to her back. Little Hellion. Sighing and nodding along, Kikyo gave both girls a smile. I know. I do. I suppose I'm still in survival mode from our treatment from Kumo. But I know Lord Naruto won't let Sauta come to harm, and everyone loves Sauta dearly. He'll grow strong, I know he will. Honoka was already pointing towards the compound. You know. Maybe you should explore the city a bit, see what life has to offer now. You shouldn't stay cooped up here all the time. I'll consider it, young lady. Now, how are you feeling? Kikyo smiled at the happy glow that exuded from Honoka. More little feet were bound for their home soon. It would be good to stay busy, she supposed. Like it isn't fully real yet. Honoka smiled and looked down at her midsection, imagining the lives growing there. Though maybe I did overdo it. Kikyo and Kotohime both chuckled as Yuka waved to two girls headed their way from the house. Kikyo was the first to offer her a grin. Just you wait, you are in for a whole new world of changes. You're scaring me. Maybe next time you won't be so stubborn. Well, if there is a next time after this, Kikyo certainly wouldn't want more after 5 at once. No, one was more than enough at a time. I was just motivated was all. Honoka pouted as Kikyo gave her a pat on the hand. Why did she feel like she was on the receiving end of a lot of pity right now? I'll be fine. Of course you will, dear. B. Naruto was contemplative as he stood in front of the Uzumaki monument at the base of the tower. While many gave him plenty of space as he was deep in thought, Temari at his side clapped her hands together as she offered a prayer to the fallen. On his other side Ino did much the same, before both girls turned to face him quietly. Ino was the first to gently place a hand at his elbow. Whiskers, you good? Shaking himself as if coming from a trance, Naruto reminds himself of where he is. Azushio's capital city. His home. Yeah. I think I'm going to go out for a bit tonight. He turned away, leading both young women away from the spire of obsidian to wander about the city for a bit. Maybe he should pay Tazuna a visit, see how the arena was coming along. Ino sighed and leaned into him as they walked. It's been 2 months already, hasn't it? And what a couple of months had it been. Between Honoka's pregnancy party and the steady growth of their nation, it had been one more or less easy day after another. Plenty of time for all of them to relax, spend time with each other and Naruto specifically, and find new places for themselves among their people. She herself had started up an interrogation department within their ninja ranks. Small-time bandits and a few uppity lords still made things interesting from time to time. Gotta say, I wouldn't mind extending it out to a full year. Heck, put this off forever if we could. On the other side of Naruto, Temari was shaking her head. You know we shouldn't ask that of him. This is a major threat, it needs to be dealt with. She had gotten the chance to visit her brothers back home twice already since she had taken up residence in Azushio full-time. While she still missed them on occasion, she could say that she had found real love and happiness here as well. Naruto was certainly a doting husband. Though she wasn't on the hunt for children just yet. But the practice. Oh boy, the practice. Naruto could feel the myriad of emotions from both girls and sighed, pulling both into his sides with ease. Arms around their waists, he put on a grin and a brave face. Like I said, this'll be easy work. I'll revive her, get the information I need, and if she is all evil, I'll blow her to bits and come home. Ino chuckled as she considered what Sasuke had already said and shared with Sakura, and thus, her. You're gonna get jumped in the first 10 minutes. I'm common, don't side with that bastard Sasuke. Just stating the facts, dear, you're just too irresistible. Certainly was to her, and Hinata, and Yugito lately, and the Samui woman was giving him odd looks lately, and it was probably best not to count the amount of women who would bed her husband if allowed. Temari was curious about something else at the moment, and voiced her concern. What happens after though? I mean, I know you need her for information. But what's the best case scenario here? Best case, she's the only threat I have to worry about and life moves on as we wish it. Naruto paid attention to a group of children on what looked like a field trip, headed for the train station by the looks of it. That they were on the back of 2 giant turtles didn't seem to faze anyone anymore. And worst case, Temari almost didn't want to voice the question, but knew it would eat her up if she didn't. Well, worst case is she's not alone. Or I guess worse, she's the lesser threat. And wasn't that something to worry about? Uzumaki texts had described a clan from the stars. Did that mean there were more out there like Kaguya? Or was she the last of her people? So many questions that he wanted answers to. Needed answers to. Ino nudged him, pulling away but holding his hand to drag him along. Common mopey butt. Let's focus on the good things. Kotohime and Kayuki will be due soon, won't they? Focus on getting this over with and coming home to see your children born. Naruto smiled despite his worry. A father, him. He still wasn't sure this was real. But every night as he lay in bed with the women, having the chance to cradle those pregnant bellies, he knew his children were nearly here. Ino tugged him a bit more insistently and dragged both Temari and him along. Okay, where's the fire? Maybe I just want to drag you somewhere dark and secluded so we can have you all to ourselves. The sultry look she gave him nearly had him believing her. Naruto chuckled but shook his head. Aha, we never would have left the office if that was your plan. Maybe I didn't want to do it there. Another roll of his eyes had Ino laughing into her hand. Aha. Who are you and where have you taken Ino? She never passes up a chance for office fun. Especially if she could drag one of the others along for the ride. Now if you had said you were dragging me off to hunt down Hinata or Karen I would have believed that. Cursing herself for nothing thinking of that, Ino did instead pull herself back to Naruto's side, though she guided them through the city streets. Instead of that, I have a question for you. Used to the way Ino would switch tracks sometimes, Naruto nodded focused ahead. Okay, shoot. What's up? I guess, considering we now know life outside of our world is real. What would you do if you could travel to other worlds? Sleep. The double slaps to the back of his head were good. 9 out of 10 in his book. Temari shook her head as Ino pouted. You ass. She's being serious here. Hugging Ino a bit tightly, Naruto nodded. I know. Sorry. But honestly, I don't know. I technically can do that now, and so long as the family is here I have no reason to go anywhere. That brought both girls up short, Ino already turning towards him and fisting his jacket. Wait a minute. Explain. Now. He wasn't supposed to be playing with time and space ninjutsu anymore. Whoops. Guess he forgot a few things, didn't he? Naruto released both of them as they angled towards the Uzumaki shrine, well, after locking Zetsu in a pocket dimension. And then doing the same with the Gedo Mazo, I got to thinking. If I can make pocket dimensions like that, who's to say other dimensions full of their own worlds aren't a thing as well? Of course, navigating to those worlds would be hard, if not impossible. But it should be possible. Feeling the heat of both women staring holes into the sides of his head, Naruto continued on. I haven't gone, if you're wondering. But I did confirm. I can track down other worlds like ours. So I guess, if I ever found a reason to take the family away from here, I could do that. But this is our home, I don't have a reason to leave. Ino had a different sort of thought, much different than what Naruto wasn't concerned about. Screw that. It's the ultimate vacation. We could leave the elemental nations behind, go and find somewhere truly different and new. Wouldn't that be exciting? Temari was of a different mind, all of this going well and truly over her head, it sounds insane. Both points are valid I guess. Naruto rubbed the back of his head before shrugging the worry off. I wanted to know that in the worst case scenario, I could take the family away from here. Make sure we all survived. He would drag himself to hell and fight the Lord of Death himself if it meant his family survived whatever apocalypse was coming. Still there was hope it wouldn't come to that. Well, for now we're banking on Kaguya is actually a pushover and there's nothing to worry about then. Ino would put all thoughts about running away to new worlds out of her mind. That her husband could create dimensions and play with time was something to concern herself with another day. Temari was quick to pick back up on what they were talking about before then, or at least Ino's joke, so guess you better give it to Kaguya good then so we can avoid the end of the world. I'm not going to get jumped by a goddess. Naruto refused. Nope. He had enough headaches. Nope. He'd sooner throw her at Sasuke. Let that asshole deal with her. Kurama's cackling in his mind certainly wasn't helping his mood. Welp, better get this over with tonight. B. It was well and truly nighttime, the stars able to shine brightly on the Uzumaki island with so little light to speak of. Nearly midnight, most everyone was down and asleep after a long day. Though for a small few, their night was just beginning. Naruto didn't want to consider that he might be getting cold feet, not at what would normally be considered 0 hour. But here he was, standing once more before the statue holding Zetsu, and considering putting this off for another day. Life had been great. Every day nothing but time with his family, enjoying his relationships, kindling a few new ones, and overall just living. But this, Kaguya. Depending on if his hope was correct or not, this could be a fight he may not be able to win. Now's not the time to second guess yourself. Fear and anxiety will doom you before you start. No reason to live through this twice. Kurama's voice was the calming one for once and Naruto appreciated it. Guess this is it. Oi. Did you really think you were getting away without us? Sasuke and Sakura walked up the trail towards him, Sasuke in the lead while Sakura held a lamp to light the way, not that any of them needed the extra light anymore. Gotta admit, I was kinda hoping so. Naruto accepted the slug to his shoulder with good grace. You can still sit this out. You've got a clan to rebuild. Sasuke scrubbed a hand through his hair with a frown on his face. We're not having this argument again. You go, I go. That simple. Smiling and turning back to Zetsu's prison, Naruto sniffed once. Thanks, brother. No sweat. So, let's get a move on. Sasuke did turn kind eyes back to Sakura. We're agreed, you're waiting here. Looking like she either wanted to argue or maybe punch something, Sakura instead nodded slowly. I made a promise. Time doesn't move there like normal, right? Watching Naruto nod, she clenched a fist and put the lantern on the ground. I'm giving you 5 minutes our time. No more. After that I run to the compound and sound the alarm. Walking forward, she hugged both of her boys tightly. You better come back, and in one piece. Both of you. Letting Sakura let them go, Naruto nodded and flashed her a grin. We won't be gone but a moment. 30 seconds tops. Sasuke rolled his eyes. Unless I come back alone, then just assume he's busy. That won't happen. Sakura smiled as she turned back, picking up the lantern again to face them. It better, I have money on it. Naruto turned bored eyes to Sasuke this time, who tried his best to look innocent. I'm going to make it my life's work after this to see you hounded by every beautiful woman that's not an Uzumaki. Good luck. It's me, I don't need it. A twig snapped, and Naruto cursed his distracted state. The chakra was familiar, too familiar. Ino, Hinata, I swore I knocked you two out. Ino bounced forward, a forced smile on her face as she crashed forward to hug him tightly. You did. But we made it a point to set alarms. You've got a tracker. Pulling away at Naruto's pointed look, Ino tried and failed to stem the flow of tears. This could be the last time they see him, no matter how much he continued to try and reassure them. You better come back, you hear me? Naruto nods as Hinata walks into his arms gently, hugging him tightly and refusing to let go. I will, Kage's honor. Hinata shook her head in his chest. No. Just your word is enough. Please. Pausing and considering her, Naruto thought through everything they had been through. Ino and Hinata had been with him since the beginning. All the changes he went through, this new life he had built. They had both been here step by step. Though if he stalled any longer he was sure all of the others would find their way here. His not-so-hidden secret prison. On my word, I'll be back. Your word is law, dear husband. Hinata leaned up to kiss him softly once, before stepping back. That's a lifetime promise. You can't break it. Flashing another grin, Naruto gave them a thumbs up as Sasuke latched onto his shoulder. I'll be back before you even know it. And then they were gone. The three remaining women all looked to each other, before Ino stomped a foot into the dirt, building a bench out of earth to sit and wait. She would not be leaving this spot until their husbands returned. Hinata joined her easily, leaning into her side with a tired yawn, while Sakura took an extra second to join her on her other side. Huddled together, Sakura sighed and continued to count the seconds. Ino huffed, they'll be okay. Cleaning her tears, the Uzumaki blonde wanted to stay in good spirits, even if it was against what her heart was telling her. Sakura nodded as Hinata hummed along. They will be. They promised. And those two might as well be gods. 2 on 1 should even things out. Plus, she had promised to ride to hell and drag them back if needed. Hinata sighed, joining hands with Ino as she could hear the bushes rustling behind them. Seems we weren't as quiet as we thought. The rest of Foxton had arrived under escort of Jugo and Riptide Squad 1. Amaru brought up the rear, another lantern to light the way. Guess this'll be a grand welcoming party, won't it? Sakura counted past 30 and mentally promised to belt Naruto 1. Well deserved. Physically no more than 3 meters away, but in actuality another world away, Naruto and Sasuke touched down in front of a meditating Zetsu. The being stood up upon their arrival, bowing deeply to Naruto. It is time then. You were honest, it has only been a moment since you last left. Naruto nodded as he walked forward. Yup, Kaguya's vessel is complete. Now we just need you. Of course, this is the final step. Feeling out and latching onto what he wanted through the ether, Naruto worried that merging the 2 pockets might play havoc with the time dilation effect. Couldn't cry about it now. Only warning you'll get. Attempt to betray us, and you won't even have a chance to consider taking it back. Again Zetsu bowed to Naruto with a grin on its face. I would never, my lord. I live to serve Kaguya's will. Another breath to steady himself, Naruto allowed this world to shift and merge with the one holding the body of Madara. A grand expanse of flat plains, and between the 3 beings who might not be completely human lay the changed body of Madara. Zetsu turned, bowing once more to Naruto, who released most of the seals hovering around the husk, before Zetsu was gone, jumping into it and merging itself with it. Watching the process happen, Sasuke frowned at the feeling he was beginning to get. Why does that feel familiar? Past life shenanigans most likely. You have a chance to talk to yours yet. Shaking his head, Sasuke turned a worried eye to Naruto. Have you? Not really. Have started getting some weird memories though. Oh, yeah, same here. Sasuke shuffled as the body became more feminine, otherworldly. Was that a Rinnegan on her forehead? And horns? Yup, just Naruto's type. Tayuya would get a kick out of that. Ready? Do we have a choice? Naruto shook himself but refused to begin cycling chakra through his system just yet. Better to wait and see how this was going to play out. The body finished shifting and changing, a woman just shorter than Naruto by half a head slowly returning to her feet. Kaguya's long silver hair and pale eyes latched onto both men quietly, before she held up a hand idly with a curious look. A smart tactic, reviving me with so little chakra at my disposal. You precocious children. Naruto had his hands on his hips, taking the lead in this conversation while Sasuke kept his eyes on the revived goddess. Well, just wanted to be safe. I've got some questions for ya. Questions? Do tell. She was now examining her hands, clothes shifting into long and flowing priestess robes of white and yellow. That she was able to do so set both young men on edge. Sharing an unsure look with Sasuke, Naruto powered on. Well, guess first, where did you come from? A realm outside of this one. The Otsutsuki clan's main mission is to travel and gain strength. We wish to attain godhood much as one of our own has already achieved. Though I have already done so. Kaguya was still examining herself, a pleased smile on her face. Well, this was going a lot smoother than he had expected. No fighting at least, of any kind. Naruto sighed and considered world-ending aliens as boring. So then, why are you here and so willing to answer my questions? That should be simple to deduce. My partner and I planted the God Tree in order to harvest this planet's energy and genetic information. After which it would change into the 10 tails, I was to be sacrificed to it, and it would bear a chakra fruit. My partner Ishiki was to eat it, and I would be reborn through my karma. Kaguya finally focused back on him, a smile slowly tugging at her lips. And why wouldn't I answer your questions, dear husband? Blinking and feeling like all of his brain's functions locked up at once, Naruto ignored the renewed cackling from Kurama or the barely held in laughter of Sasuke. What? Oh, dear, we're connected. Deeper than hearts, at our very souls. Soulmates. Is that not what a husband and wife should be? She made no move to close the distance between them, though she did hold up a hand that began to coalesce chakra. There is, however, a small matter. Chakra cloak snapping into being, Naruto watched Sasuke jump away, purple chakra roiling around him. Oh, what's that? 1. I am the moon goddess, destined to save humanity and all the inhabitants of this world. If you seek to protect this world without my interference, you must best me. To prove you are stronger than me. She did not grow in size, but the amount of chakra she began to leak was much more than the slivers of chakra he had given that body. That was concerning. Naruto motioned to himself and Sasuke. The chakra she was summoning to herself felt off in a way he couldn't describe. Aren't we the reincarnations of your son's kids? Isn't it weird to call me your husband? Not at all. My husband is the strongest man alive. That is you. Together we will spawn a godling so powerful that even my clan will be forced to acknowledge us. Kaguya held out a hand to them both, smile still as serene as before. You could join hands with me. Follow my orders and direction. We do not have to fight. Naruto noted Sasuke shaking his head and shook his head in turn. Best not to hesitate now, wouldn't that mean sacrificing the rest of the world? Well yes, but they are expendable. You are not. I suppose I can allow you to keep your pets for now. Gods need the distractions. Kaguya leapt for him, eyes shining with activated Byakugan. Enough talk. Show me your strength. While she could only access a fraction of herself in this place, it was enough to rebuild a measure of her chakra. Not enough, but defeating these boys was within her power. Dodging away from a dainty fist that obliterated the ground they had been standing on, Naruto racked his brain as he considered the feel of her chakra. There was something there, just at the edges of his thoughts. Making several clones and sending them to harry her with the sage's paths, he noted Sasuke hanging back and looking for an opening. Not that one would come, as another delicate fist obliterated one of his clones. Well shit. Augmented with Kurama's chakra as they were, he was going to need more. Time for that then. Not yet, I have another idea. Kurama snorted, that's such a stupid idea. It'll work. Naruto huffed and made a dozen more low-powered clones, watching as Kaguya waved a hand and gave birth to a literal forest of ash-white trees. All of the clones he had made were destroyed in an instant, but the dozen or so clones in the second wave were already making their way towards her. Naruto followed along behind them, Sasuke racing to join up with him. Kaguya turned to them and floated through the air, a black ball of dense chakra forming between her hands as she considered what to do next. Foolish, clones aren't enough against me. One of the clones winked at her as they all jumped above her, looking ready to attack her in mass. Got something for ya. Reverse harem jutsu. A plume of smoke surrounds all of the clones, before Kaguya is treated to a sight she never would have expected. So, beautiful. Kaguya whispered, words trembled past her lips. Supple and glistening abs, almost girlishly good looks, raging muscles and a first smashed into her gut, interrupting her attack and launching her away to bounce and roll across the landscape. Sasuke huffed as he flew next to Naruto, who gave him a thumbs up. That was childish. It worked, now to really put on some pressure. Making two augmented clones and giving them mental orders, one unsealed a scroll while the other summoned white chains that wrapped around its wrists. They both rushed off, flashing away in a hurricane. Better take cover. Kaguya was just floating free of a dust cloud before she was suddenly assaulted by a new clone, this one bearing a scroll with 3 black bands around each end. What now? More trickery. Wouldn't call it that. This voice was behind her, giving her no warning to stop the chains that erupted from the ground to latch around her legs and midsection. Kaguya moved to break free, but found she couldn't. Interesting. The clone in front of her was already applying chakra to the scroll. Time to turn up the heat. Beautiful. Be beautiful. The scroll unraveled, and Kaguya had all of a moment to consider the reaction before she was assaulted by light and heat. Further away and floating in the air, Naruto and Sasuke bore witness to the explosion and rising mushroom cloud in the distance. Naruto had a feeling that wouldn't be enough, while Sasuke was turning to face him. Overkill much. I could survive it, so she should be able to. There's no way you'd survive that to the face. Sasuke watched Naruto pointing a finger back towards the sea of destruction, finding Kaguya floating there with what looked like a black portal closing behind her, eyes on them both. Okay, that's just unfair. Molten earth boiled and crumbled below her, looking for all the world like a gate to hell. Naruto did have the information he needed now though, and instead tagged Sasuke on the shoulder. I need a minute, can you keep her busy? Naruto was already moving, dropping to the ground as a dome of seals burst to life around him. This isn't a tag team event. Grumbling as Naruto focused completely on his task, Sasuke gave up. I'm saving I told you so, for later. You better know what you're doing. Sasuke raced ahead, mind already focused on forming his Susanoo. Why couldn't she have just been one of Naruto's normal women? Kaguya was already leaping back towards him, a wide smile on her face. I have no need of you, Indra. Stand aside. Faced with the massive form of the glowing purple Susanoo, Kaguya again formed a truth-seeking ball in her hands. So be it. Launching the projectile away, she watched the construct's right arm dissolve with ease. She missed the left arm and shield coming her way, smashing into her to send her yet further to tear through the endless landscape. Unfazed, Kaguya again took to the skies, only to see Sasuke there and whole once more. Interesting. What is this? Notching his crossbow, Sasuke let loose several bolts towards the goddess. She wove through each one while closing the distance, a smile on her face while Sasuke could feel sweat beginning to build on his forehead. Leave it to a goddess to shrug off world-breaking attacks. Backing away as she put on yet more speed, he brought his sword around, wreathing it further in the fires of Amaterasu. Just stay down already. With an errant wave of her hand, Kaguya shattered the attack coming her way, dismissing the black flames as no more than a light breeze. Pitiful. The fist that grabbed her startled her at first, before she offered a smirk to the young man wreathed in the chakra construct's chest. Perhaps you could be interesting after all. Warning bells blaring in his mind, Sasuke abandoned the Susanoo as bone-white thorns pierced the hand holding Kaguya. Watching the Susanoo dissolve as if it never existed, he decided close combat might be a bad idea. Naruto, could really use your buddy. Hold your horses, I'm almost done. The dome of seals had grown larger, nearly 30 meters, and now several bands of white light circled him. His chakra cloak was still its golden color, but the ears now looked more like horns. Naruto figured he only had one shot at this, and needed to make it count. And then he wasn't on the battlefield anymore. Floating in a formless space of light, Naruto spun about to get his bearings. Had his hunch been wrong and Kaguya had access to more of her abilities than he thought? How could he get back then? His own ability to shift through realities wasn't working here. You'll find you can't do that here. This isn't really a place after all. The voice was old, but kind. And old man, sounded almost like Gigi. Turning to face the ancient man who was suddenly before him, Naruto noted the Rinnegan both in his eyes and on his forehead, the wild brown hair and the small horns protruding from his forehead. With a twitch and immediate recognition from Kurama, Naruto relaxed. Hagoromo Otsutsuki then. The great sage himself. You catch on quickly. That's good. The two men face off against each other, before Naruto finally relaxed, floated before the older sage and crossing his legs under him. You know, I expected something. I don't know. More I suppose. This reaction is lackluster. You've been watching us, all this time haven't you? You should know then I can roll with the punches. Naruto looked around the space again, feeling out with his chakra and senses. Time isn't moving here, is it? Of course not. Didn't want to interrupt your battle and doom the world. Kinda already did. Speaking of, why haven't you come before? Hagoromo considered that, twisting his staff in his hands as he floated before Naruto. I didn't want to change the path you were currently on. You were making fine progress without me, so I wanted to see how you would fare. Humming and seeing the logic in that, Naruto pointed out the obvious, but you're here now, which means something was about to go wrong. Actually, the opposite. Grinning as Naruto blinked at him in confusion, Hagoromo waved a hand at Naruto himself. I wanted to appear here, in this moment, to offer you just a friendly piece of advice. You don't need my chakra or any of my body at this rate. Since you've figured out some of that already. Not wanting to mention that it was actually Sakura who figured out some of that, not him, Naruto instead crossed his arms. Okay, well, lay it on me. What wisdom does the great sage of the six paths have for me? Chuckling and coming forward, Hagoromo placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Do not forget who you are. You've realized you aren't fully human anymore, I can see that. But that doesn't mean you have to be something else. Stay true to yourself, or you'll fall victim to the same fate that all of the Otsutsuki eventually do. Ha! Absolute power corrupts absolutely, that it. Naruto grinned as the other man nodded. You haven't met the girls. They wouldn't let me go off the rails even if I wanted to. Best to keep them close then. And maybe continue to build your legacy as you have. Another smirk, much more playful this time, though maybe don't have too much fun. I'm surrounded by perverts. Naruto huffed and considered if there was anything he wanted to ask. This was the sage himself. The one who passed on the knowledge of chakra to humanity. It was like meeting humanity's greatest hero. Ever wish you could turn it off? All the time, but once the choice is made, it can't be unmade. Would you do any different if it could be? No. To protect my family, my friends and my world. I'd do anything needed. Hagoromo nodded, pointing once more towards Naruto. And the tip. Chakra is nothing more than energy. All chakra is at its core the life force of beings collected and condensed down into a usable form. All energy can be directed, converted, and cut off completely. Keep that in mind. Got it? I think I get what you're saying. Nodding and sending Naruto away with a wave of his hand, Hagoromo gave him a thumbs up. Then that's all you'll need. Let's meet again sometime. Sure thing, old man. Naruto was then back in the middle of battle, mind cycling through the construction of a seal array that would both analyze and destroy a connection he was looking for. He needed to hurry before Sasuke ran out of time. Grunting and dodging away from a swipe of what looked to be a spike made from bone, Sasuke summoned his Chokuto. Enforcing it with the black chakra of Amaterasu, he began a protracted running battle with Kaguya, blocking and parrying attacks that he could feel would end his existence if even one hit him. Molding chakra in his eyes as his Mangekyo was pushed further, he wondered at the sheer scale of Kaguya's power. Even after everything, it's like fighting against a mountain. I'm a goddess boy, you have many millennia to go before you could hope to touch me. Kaguya broke through a hasty block made by Sasuke, her bone spear piercing his chest. Unfortunate. Watching his body dissolve away, she turned to move on to the other boy. Shifting away from her perception thanks to a hasty Izanagi, Sasuke grunted and reappeared 100 meters behind her. Well, that works. One of his eyes began to leak blood and he wondered briefly if he could do that again. Certainly took a lot of chakra. He'd actually rather not push the limits of that if he could help it. Feeling the boy return, Kaguya turned back towards him. Oh, how wonderful, so you do have some skills after all. Marvelous, let's continue. Kaguya was already molding more chakra to her hands, another black mass of chakra building between them. How can you hope to save your world, if you can't even defeat me? Sasuke considered his next plan. Susanoo was too big and unwieldy against such a small target, but, I have a hunch you aren't as big a threat as you think. Purple chakra burst from his body as he locked gazes with Kaguya, and with a shift from his eyes, a perfect copy of the rib cage appeared around his opponent. Defeating you isn't necessary. Stopping you is. Looking around herself and considering that this was an interesting turn of events. It was still futile. So she couldn't move. That meant nothing to a goddess. The truth-seeking ball formed larger in her hands, now nearly a meter in size. This won't hold me. She sent it forward like a star, fighting the Susanoo cage for all of a moment before it broke through and impacted against Sasuke's own defensive cage. Pleased with herself, she flew forward to put the other brother down and out of the way. Her attack detonated, shattering Sasuke's defense and sending him sprawling. I won't kill you, but I think a timeout is necessary. Eyes shining as she grabbed hold of the gasping Sasuke, a black portal opened up behind her. You haven't mastered the Yomitsu Hirasaki yet. That will give me plenty of time to send you away and deal with Asura. Before she could throw Sasuke through the portal and lock him away, she suddenly found herself before Naruto with empty hands, who was grinning at her madly. Oh, he had placed a seal on her during that first hit, did he? Oh, so that's what a god tastes like. Naruto's voice had a different quality to it as the dome of seals shattered around him, the bands of light closing around Kaguya and locking her in place. Found the last piece. A palm flashed forward, crashing into her sternum in a flash of chakra. Kaguya nearly folded around his hand, before his other came around, threading into her hair and holding her in place. Dropping down to her knees as Naruto did something with her chakra, she felt something inside of her shift, and then break. What? What are you doing? Kaguya couldn't feel her power, her link to the very cosmos, gone. Naruto was grinning, Rinnegan now sporting the Tomo from the Sharingan while his pupils were still slit from Kurama's influence. You don't get it, do you? Removing his hand from her chest but still holding her hair back to force her to look at him, Naruto couldn't stop grinning as he completed one last promise to Kurama himself. You do it instinctively, you didn't have to work for it at all. It was time to become the strongest. Looking up into those deep blue eyes, Kaguya couldn't understand what was happening. The Rinnegan on her forehead closed with the lack of chakra, and even her horns were shrinking. What don't I understand? Your chakra comes not just from yourself or the world around you. You connect yourself with the very fabric of reality. It's genius honestly, though your power and everyone like you can be beaten so easily when one knows how the trick works. Naruto could sever their connection to their power and leave them only with the chakra they had within themselves. That would be a much easier fight in the long run. Now, you ready to answer my questions? Nodding her head with a flush on her face, Kaguya smiled for her lord, of course Naruto-sama. Order it, and I shall see it done. Coming back into focus and actually seeing the woman under him. He noted that her robes had fallen open a bit, an expanse of pale skin on display as her face flushed and she panted in what he hoped was exertion from the battle. Blinking as Sasuke landed not too far away from him, Naruto turned to look at his brother. Don't say it. There is no luck like Naruto's luck. Seeing that this was over, Sasuke was already molding chakra around himself. I'll tell the girls you're fine. At the least, Sasuke had learned some new tricks both about the Susanoo and himself. He'd have to get to training. Hopefully he didn't start growing horns. Wait, don't leave me, you ass. And then Sasuke was gone, shifting away back home and leaving Naruto to deal with a blushing and panting Kaguya. Could you not? I shall perform however you ask, Naruto-sama. And if I do not please you, please punish me as you see fit. Once more ignoring Kurama's cackling in his mind, Naruto cursed the universe itself. Screw this, he needed a real vacation. Releasing her hair and stepping back now that he knew she wasn't a threat, Naruto crossed his arms. The Otsutsuki, should we expect more of them? Kaguya nodded, oh yes. Though maybe not for some time yet. A decade at the least if the memories I have of Zetsu are to be relied on. There is a smaller clan on the moon, my body's former prison. But they will be of no threat to you. Naruto filed away that people were alive and well on the moon for later. Anyone else beyond the Otsutsuki? There is our ancestor Shibai, the one who attained godhood. But I highly doubt you will ever see yourself before him. Answers and yet more questions, but at least what was important was done with. At the least, I can relax and focus on our world for now while we prepare. But what to do with you? Naruto eyed up the former moon goddess and sighed, the expectant look in her eyes telling him everything he needed and more. Shit. Outside of the pocket dimension, Sasuke came back to find most of Naruto's family and even Naruto and Fu had joined them. There was a moment of complete surprise before a worried and tear-filled Sakura launched into his chest, followed shortly by Amaru. Easily folding his arms around both of them, Sasuke turned his eyes to the only one who looked unbothered at the moment, Hinata. What did I miss? Clearing her throat, Hinata motioned back to the statue, you've been inside for the better part of an hour. Ah. Whoops. Sasuke sighed and rubbed both of the girls' backs, Kaguya's revival screwed with the time-freezing effects of the seal. Sorry. Tayuya looked around Sasuke, not seeing Naruto there. What's taking Whiskers so long? Sighing dramatically and already leading Sakura and Amaru back home, Sasuke shrugged, oh you know, the usual. That sent everyone blinking quietly, before with a whisper Naruto was back before them, with a new shadow floating in the air and hanging onto his shoulders. With a bored-looking wave, he held up a hand, I'm back. Wanting to get ahead of any speculation, he tossed a hand over his shoulder, this is Kaguya. The goddess of the moon from myth and legend. She'll be around for a while. It started small, a tear-filled chuckle that morphed into a full-on belly laugh that sent Ino clutching her sides as several of the girls around her all erupted into either giggles or relieved sighs. She instead was already pointing at her husband that she loved with all her heart, called it. Pay up. Tayuya huffed as Naruto launched forward to sling an arm over Naruto's shoulder, a literal goddess, just. Should we have expected anything else? Next to her Karen sighed and stretched her arms up above her head, no, really we shouldn't have. It was late, and she was ready to drag Naruto back into bed to sleep for an entire day if need be. Hinata was already moving to stand, a smile on her face as she assisted Kotohime to her own feet. I had no doubt that our love would be victorious. Ino huffed and walked forward herself to have words with Naruto, sure thing mega tits, don't think we all didn't notice your eyes being active the entire time. How boorish. Naruto endured Naruto shaking him back and forth while Kaguya was brought into the fold by the others. Yup. This was his life now. Maybe that road trip with Jiraiya was a good idea after all. Maybe they could bring Sasuke along. Spread the love. Yeah. That's what they needed. To spread some love. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.